A happy New Year's Eve to everyone out there, unless I guess it's already New Year's if you're somewhere on the other side of the world. But it's Tuesday, so that means it's time for another top 10 video. What am I going to be covering today? Well, we've done a lot of magic item lists covering non-legendary items. So, that being said, today I'm going to give you my top 10 legendary magic items for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. If you want to see what those are, stay tuned. Very small set of rules to get out of the way up front. These are legendary items, non-artifacts. The only caveats that I have is we are still not doing consumable items like potions or scrolls. And we're also not doing any magic items where there is a lesser version of it, and this is a legendary version. So like Belt of Giant Strength has a a rare, very rare, and legendary version. So that we're not going to do anything like that. Or if there's like the Horn of Valhalla has different versions and one is legendary, they are a purely legendary item in and of itself. Those are the only ones you're going to see on this list. Oh, and I should say that these are not in order of, like on my typical lists where I go in order of what is most important, like it starts off smaller and then it gets to the most important thing. This is just a list of 10. They're in no particular order. Number 10. Number 10 is the Holy Avenger. If you know anything about me, you know that Paladins are my favorite class in 5th edition, and the Holy Avenger is like the holy grail of Paladin magic items. It is a legendary magic item that can only be attuned to by a Paladin, found in the basic rules or the DMG. It's obviously legendary, as everything on this list is, and it can be any sword. So it gives you the options here of greatsword, longsword, rapier, scimitar, or short sword. And what it is it's going to be a +3 version of whatever that is. So normally a +3 weapon is a very rare item. So this is a +3 to attack and damage rolls. Whenever you hit a fiend or undead, they take an extra 2d10 radiant damage. Again, as a paladin, you're already going to be able to do extra damage to things via your smite spells, which are going, or your smites, rather not, and your smite spells, but your smites are going to deal extra radiant damage. You deal even more damage when it's a fiend or undead if you choose to smite. This is going to make you even better at that, adding 2d10 radiant damage. And while you hold the sword drawn, it radiates an aura of a 10-foot radius around you. You and all creatures friendly to you in that aura have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. If you have 17 or more levels in Paladin, this aura increases to 30 feet. So again, as a Paladin at level 6, you're going to have the ability to add your Charisma modifier to all of your allies' saving throws. Now you're going to be able to also, on top of adding a big bonus to their saving throws, you're also going to give them advantage on spells and other magical effects. So it's just going to make you more paladin-y. You are great to have in any party. You're going to be providing all sorts of bonuses. But as far as like the flavor of things go, it does really good stuff. But there are other legendary items that do a ton more cool things, which is why I put the Holy Avenger kind of on the bottom of the list. Again, not in a specific order, but I kind of went in order of like what I think is cool, but you'll see what I mean. Number 9. Number 9 is Armor of Invulnerability. Again, legendary plate mail armor, so you need to be able to be proficient in heavy armor to wear this. It's found in the basic rules or the DMG. And you have resistance to non-magical damage while you wear this armor. Additionally, you can use an action to make yourself immune to non-magical damage for 10 minutes solid, or until you are no longer wearing the armor. Once this special action is used, it can't be used again until the next dawn. There's an example of, I think that's specifically designed for a dwarf, based on the size compared to other things in the DMG when you look at it. But it's kind of, again, to the bottom of this list, because it's just going to be plate mail. Now, resistance to non-magical damage is going to do a lot more than I feel a lot of people are thinking. So one, it's going to give you, resistance to people hit you with bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, non-magical weapons. That's going to deal half damage to you all the time, as long as you have this armor on, which is amazing. But one thing people don't think about is things like Dragonfire. for example, or any of the dragon's breath weapons. I don't know if you guys know this, but it is 100% confirmed that the breath weapon of a dragon is considered to be a non-magical source of whatever the damage is. I know that may seem crazy, because I thought the same thing, but if a dragon breathes, like a red dragon breathes fire on you, it is non-magical fire. It is just fire. So that means that you would have resistance to dragon breath weapons. And what's even cooler is if you activate your ability where you become immune to non-magical damage for 10 minutes, you would be immune to all of a dragon's abilities. This is, again, obviously there's a ton of other ways you can use this, but this makes you like the ultimate dragon killer, because a dragon's weapon attacks as well are non-magical damage. Like a dragon's claws, teeth, bite, or teeth and bite are the same thing, tail, all that kind of stuff. That's all non-magical damage. And the breath weapon, also non-magical form of damage. Also, you could do things like jump into a fire, like someone made a fire on the ground, like a bonfire. You could jump into it with your non-magic damage kind of thing activated and take no damage from that. Walking through lava, take no damage from that. You know, sheer cold on the side of a cliff of a mountain, that kind of a thing. Again, at least let me also caveat that is as of the time of what I had researched before, where I saw a specific tweet from Jeremy Crawford stating that dragon breath weapons are considered non-magical versions of the damage. That's what I read the last time I checked this. I haven't checked it since, so I'm assuming that's still the case. You guys can fact check me, and I'm sure you will. But that's why I like Armor of Invulnerability. I started with Rise of Tiamat and that whole campaign, Tyranny of Dragons. So taking out dragons is near and dear to my heart. So this makes you the ultimate dragon killer. Number 8. Number 8 is every Harry Potter fan's number 1 here, the Cloak of Invisibility. This legendary magic item requires attunement, as pretty much everything on this list does, but this one is only found in the Dungeon Master's Guide, not in the basic rules. But while wearing this cloak, you can pull its hood up over your head to become invisible. While you are invisible, anything you are carrying or wearing is invisible with you. You become visible when you cease wearing the hood. Pulling the hood up or down requires an action. Deduct the time that you are invisible in increments of 1 minute from the cloak's maximum duration of 2 hours. So this is similar to, I think, the winged boots. After 2 hours of use, the cloak ceases to function. For every uninterrupted period of 12 hours that it goes unused, it regains 1 hour of duration. So why is this on the list? Well, first of all, you don't go visible when you cast a spell or make an attack. The Ring of Invisibility, for example, when you don a Ring of Invisibility, you become invisible until you take the ring off or, make an attack or do a saving throw or something like that. This has no such dialogue in its description, so if you put on a Cloak of Invisibility, you can go around and attack everybody while invisible at advantage, in theory, if they don't have any kind of ability to see invisible creatures. So, also, you have 2 total hours, so 120 minutes, and you can do it in 1 minute increments. As most of us know, most combats last 10 rounds tops. Very few go beyond that. So if you're only pulling this hood up for increments of 1 minute, if you're using this cloak for purely combat purposes, this is amazing. If you do need to use it for sneaking and breaking into places, 2 hours is potentially a short period of time, but as long as you can get where you need to go, put the hood up and get your 12 hours uninterrupted. Again, a long rest is going to be 8, so as long as you don't deal with anything in the first 4 hours after you wake up from your long rest, you'll get an hour's use back. I don't know, this is a fantastic item. The only downside is it's a legendary item. You're probably not going to get it till way later on, and you may be encountering people with true sight at that point, so it may lose some of its usefulness. Number 7. So speaking of high levels and having to deal with the hazards that brings, number 7 is the Ring of Spell Turning. This attunement magic item is found in the basic rules and the DMG. While wearing this ring, you have advantage on saving throws against any spells that target only you, not AoE. So that's an always-on benefit. at later on in the game, the spells that are going to target only you that aren't AoE are usually pretty brutal spells. We're talking things like Finger of Death and Disintegrate and, some sort of, mind, dominate person, dominate monster, these kind of things. And then again, we can go even higher with things like Power Word Kill or whatever. But in addition, if you roll a natural 20, so you have advantage, so double the chance to roll a natural 20. In addition, if you roll a 20 for the save and the spell is 7th level or lower, the spell has no effect on you whatsoever, which is great. Again, I feel like certain spells at this point, like if you save on a spell that targets only you, if it's like a save or suck kind of a spell, like a dominate person, nothing happens. But if it's like a Finger of Death, you're going to take half damage. But instead, this kind of gives you, if you manage to roll a 20, like a minor sort of evasion, but better, because the spell will have no effect on you whatsoever, and then it targets the caster instead, using the slot level, spell save DC, attack bonus, and spellcasting ability of the modifier. Of the caster. And again, talk about like a big fuck you to the big bad, right? They go to cast a spell at you, a 7th level spell or lower, say, again, like Finger of Death. They go to hit you with Finger of Death. You save, you roll a natural 20, the entirety of the spell is negated, and then they get hit with their own spell, potentially killing them, possibly, and then turning them into a zombie under their own control, I guess? I don't know. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, it's a really powerful thing to have. Again, it may not come up as often, but just the visualizing the scenario where you are attacked by a high-level caster and they hit you with this really powerful spell and you're able to return it back to them is just awesome. Number 6. Number 6 is something that I wanted to put on a lot of these lists for a lot of the casters that I had been doing, but couldn't because we limited it to non-legendary magic items, but that is the Robe of the Archmagi. Again, a attunement magic item that is required by Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard, found in the basic rules and the DMG. And sort of the only downside to this is it comes in a specific color, whether white, gray, or black, and it corresponds to the alignment that you have, which is weird because there's not a ton of focus on alignment in 5th edition. There was a big focus on alignment in previous editions where it drove a lot of things, like it even limited the spells you could cast. This, I feel like, is kind of funky because it's only really with magic items do we see things being tied to attunement, but otherwise I feel like attunement in 5th edition is almost not even a focus. Like, you could never deal with anything attunement based at all, and it wouldn't really impact things, except for very specific magic item circumstances, which I feel like it may also have been like a relic or an overhold from previous editions, or D&D Next when it wasn't officially 5th edition. But anyway, the color of the robe reflects the attunement. So white for good, gray for neutral, and black for evil. You can attune to the Robe of the Archmagi if it doesn't match your alignment. Which also, how shitty would that be if you're playing in a game as a caster and you finally come across one of these sets of robes and you can't wear it because it doesn't match your alignment? Now, potentially, also, it brings up the idea of how do you shift alignments. Like, if you're good going to neutral or neutral going to good, I feel like that's pretty easy if you're like, wow, I really want these robes. But like, if you find that black set of robes and you're a good character and you're like, well, guess it's time to start being evil because I want these sweet robes. Why are they so sweet, you may ask? Well, if you aren't wearing armor, which you more than likely won't be if you're a sorcerer or wizard, and if you're a warlock, you'll probably drop it, your base AC becomes 15 plus your dexterity modifier, so that's going to be 2 more than mage armor. So right there, it eliminates the need to cast mage armor every day, or even have it as a prepared or known spell. You have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. I think we've seen a couple of other items already on this list do, but this gives you it all the time. And the spell save DC and your spell attack bonuses increase by 2. Which is amazing, especially if you happen to, say, be like a warlock and get access to the Rod of the Pact Keeper, where you can also increase your spell save DC. And in theory, if you happen to have a Rod of the Pact Keeper +3, this could give you a potential, I don't know why I said that so weird, +5 to your spell save DC. Good luck beating that, NPCs and monsters. Again, it's cool. Also, they look cool. I wish they had done like a mock-up side by side of gray and black. Again, I can kind of visualize it, but still, it also says that it has silvery runes, and this has white and gold, which I thought was an interesting choice. Like, if we look at this, that's clearly gold runes, not silver. But the description says silvery, so I don't know. But I would love to see a black and silver set of Robes of the Archmagi. It is unfortunate, though, that it is also limited to Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Why no love for the Bard? That's all I'm saying. Number 5. So with number 5, we're going to start to get into items that I'm going to think are probably a little bit less known, as these are going to be, not all, but some of them are going to be found in campaigns. So if you haven't played that campaign or read through the Legendary Magic item list on D&D Beyond, you may be unfamiliar. So number 5 is Hazirawn. I'm still never really sure exactly how you're supposed to pronounce it, but that's what I'm going to go with. This legendary greatsword that requires attunement is found in Horde of the Dragon Queen. Not even Rise of Tiamat, just the original one, Horde of the Dragon Queen. So it is a sentient, neutral, evil greatsword. It is capable of speech in Common and Netherese. And here's the thing that's cool about it. Even if you aren't attuned, it is a +1 greatsword. So +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls. And even if you aren't attuned, it deals an extra 1d6 necrotic damage when you hit with the weapon. So +1 to attack and damage, plus an additional 1d6 necrotic damage. However, if you attune to it, it becomes a +2 weapon that deals 2d6 necrotic damage. So think that through, right? It's a +2 greatsword, and you're going to be dealing 4d6 with every hit. 2d6 for the greatsword's base damage, plus an additional 2d6 necrotic damage. And that's not even the end of it. It has 4 charges. As long as the sword is attuned to you and you're holding it in your hand, you can cast Detect Magic for 1 charge, Detect Evil and Good for 1 charge, or Detect Thoughts for 2 charges. It also doesn't give you a spell save DC, so I don't know what it is, and I feel like we've dealt with this before. Each night at midnight, it regains 1d4 expended charges. And then here it also has the wounding feature, which is also just crazy. While you are attuned to the weapon, any creature that you hit with it can't regain hit points for 1 minute. The target can make a DC 15 Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending this effect early on a success. So it shuts down healing. It does 40. It's a +2 greatsword that does 46 total damage, 2 being slashing that's already magic, the other 2 being necrotic. Again, if you crit, you're dealing 8d6 damage base, so you're doing the equivalency of a fireball with 1 sword swing, and if you're a martial character, you probably have multiple hits. And then you also have a little bit of spell casting, which is cool because it can expand a little bit of what you can do. Again, if you're a martial character, like say a fighter, who would probably get the most benefit out of this sword, as it's going to give, you're going to have, say, 3 attacks, or 3 attacks plus action surge, each attack dealing minimum +2 plus your strength modifier plus 46 damage. It's going to give you a little bit of other utility, being the Detect Magic, Detect Evil and Good, and Detect Thoughts. Yes, there is the downside that it is a neutral evil greatsword that is sentient and can speak, which may or may not cause issues, and your party may have problems with it if you try to attune to this evil sword. But as written, there's not too much saying like it's going to try to control your mind. It's just an evil sword, and you attune to it, and maybe you can try to bend it to the will of good. Either way, it's a badass weapon, and any martial character would love to have it. May cause issues with the paladins, though. Number 4. Number 4 is the Blackstaff. So it requires attunements by a Blackstaff heir who must be a wizard, which this item is found in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So that makes it a little bit specific, obviously, but it's a top 10 legendary magic item because 1, base, it functions as a staff of power, which we've talked about ad nauseum in all of our spellcasting videos, but that gives you a +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls because it's a magic quarterstaff. Gives you a +2 bonus to your AC, your saving throws, and spell attack rolls. It also gives you the ability to spend 1 charge to deal an extra 1d6 force damage when you strike with it, and then also gives you the ability to expend one of its 20 charges to cast Cone of Cold for 5, 5th level Fireball for 5, Globe of Invulnerability for 6, Hold Monster for 5, Levitate for 2, 5th level Lightning Bolt for 5, Magic Missile for 1, Ray of Enfeeblement for 1, or Wall of Force for 5. On top of having the Retributive Strike feature, it also gives you all of these abilities. Animate the Walking Statues of Waterdeep. You can expend one or more of its charges, so it's 20 charges, as an action to animate or deactivate one or more of the Walking Statues of Waterdeep, which again are crazy strong. You must be in the city to use this property, and you can animate or deactivate one statue for each charge expended. It obeys your telepathic commands. Walking statue becomes inanimate if the deactivated or the staff is broken. Dispel Magic. You can expend one of the staff's charges as a bonus action to cast Dispel Magic on a creature, an object, or a magical effect that you touch with the tip of the staff. So rather than being ranged, you have to touch, but it's a bonus action. If the target is an unwilling creature or object in the possession of such a creature, you must hit the creature with a melee attack using the Blackstaff before you can expend the charge to cast the spell. Also has Drain Magic. The property affects only creatures that use spell slots. When you hit a creature with a melee attack using the Blackstaff, you can expend one of the staff's charges as a bonus action, causing the target to expend one spell slot of the highest spell level it can cast without casting a spell. If the target has already expended all its spell slots, nothing happens. Spell slots that are expended in this fashion are regained when the target finishes a long rest as normal. Master of Enchantment. When you cast an enchantment spell of first level or higher while holding the staff, you can make an Arcana check with a DC of 10 plus the level of the spell. If the spell succeeds, you cast the spell without expending a spell slot. And then we have the fact that it is a sentient item, right? It has a neutral alignment with an intelligence of 22, wisdom of 15, charisma of 18. It has dark vision and hearing out to a range of 120 feet and can communicate telepathically with any creature that is holding it. I'm not going to talk about the personality because that's not super important, but it does have Spirit Trap. When the Blackstaff dies, the spirit of the individual becomes trapped in the staff along with the spirits of previous Blackstaffs. Destroying the staff would release the spirits trapped inside, but in that event, Kelvin's spirit can lodge itself into any piece of the staff that remains. The piece containing Kelvin's spirit has the staff's sentience property, but none of its other properties. As long as this piece of staff exists, Kelvin's spirit can make the staff whole again whenever he wishes. When the staff is remade, the spirits, the previous Blackstaff, becomes trapped inside it again. It's a staff of power, but with just a whole bunch of other abilities. Could not put it on the list. Number 3. Number 3 is Azuredge, a battle axe found, a 2-minute battle axe found in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And what I thought was cool about this one is, one, it's a +3 battle axe, so +3 to attack, +3 to damage. But what's interesting is the shield spell provides no benefit against the axe, which passes through the spell's barrier of magical force. So if you're fighting like a wizard or a sorcerer or whoever, and they cast the shield spell to add +5 to their AC, doesn't matter for you, straight through. When you hit a fiend or undead with the axe, cold blue flames erupt from its blade and deal an extra 2d6 radiant damage to the target. So right there, it's a +3 weapon, you're negating shield, and it does cool blue flames, and they do radiant damage, which is awesome. It's also a solid steel handle etched with tiny runes wrapped in blue dragon hide with a star sapphire set in the pommel. The head is forged from silver, electrum, and steel alloys whose edge constantly shimmer with a deep blue luminescence. It's just badass looking too. But it has more. It has hurling. It has 3 charges. You can expend 1 charge and make a ranged attack with the axe, hurling it as if it had the thrown property, with a normal range of 60 feet is the normal range, and 180 feet is the long range. Whether it hits or misses, the axe flies back to you at the end of the current turn, so you got to think about when you're going to use it, landing in your open hand or at your feet. Rains all charges daily at dawn. So again, probably make all of your regular attacks that you're going to make with melee if you have multiple attacks, and then throw it as the last attack, because it's going to come back at the end of the turn. And then Illumination, we already talked about how it kind of glows. While holding the axe, you can use an action to cause it to glow blue, or quench the glow. It sheds bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light in an additional 30 feet. It does have sentience. It is a lawful neutral weapon with intelligence of 12, wisdom of 15, charisma of 15, hearing and dark vision out to a range of 120 feet. It communicates telepathically with its wielder and can speak, read, and understand Common. It also has a calm, delicate voice. The weapon can sense the presence of non-lawful creatures within 120 feet of it. I don't know. I just think it's a badass battle axe, and I had to put it on the list. Number 2. Number 2 are basically all of them, but the dragon masks that are found in Horde of the Dragon Queen or Rise of Tiamat. They are legendary attunement magic items. The Black Dragon Mask specifically was found in Horde of the Dragon Queen, as you had a potential to get access to it. But the other ones are found in Rise of Tiamat, and they all do they do a bunch of similar features, and then each one has a unique ability. So I just picked the Black Dragon Mask one because it's the first one, and I think some of its abilities are the most useful. So they all have damage absorption. If you attune to it, you have resistance to whatever the dragon's damage is. For the Black Dragon Mask, that happens to be acid. If you already have resistance to acid from another source, you would gain immunity to acid. So again, this could be based on a racial feature, right? If you are, say, a dragonborn that has resistance to acid. Again, remember that there's a red dragon mask that's for fire. Gives you, if you have resistance to fire, you become immune to fire. So things like that. If you somehow already have immunity to the damage, again in this case acid, from another source, you regain hit points equal to half any acid damage you are dealt. Again, there's not too many ways to gain access to immunity in Dungeons & Dragons. Through magic items, you can gain access to immunity. Also consider that through magic items, you can get resistance to damage, right? If you have a Belt of Dwarven kind, you can get resistance to poison damage, and if you had the Green Dragon Mask, you'd have immunity to poison damage, which would be pretty sweet. But let's say, and I think a Storm Sorcerer can get immunity to thunder and lightning damage, so the Blue Dragon Mask would mean when you take lightning damage, you would heal from it, which is pretty cool, which then has the tons of capabilities of you dropping like an AoE spell on yourself to heal you but damage enemies. Very cool. High level play. Also, while you are wearing no armor, you add your charisma bonus to your AC. So this is on top of your dexterity bonus. So this gives you basically unarmored defense, more or less. But it says while you are wearing no armor, so if you have access to shields, that is still in play. But now you're adding your dex and charisma to your AC. If you have a breath weapon that requires rest to recharge, it gains a recharge of 6. This seems to be entirely targeted to Dragonborn who need a short rest to gain their breath weapon back, and now recharges on a roll of a d6. So at the start of your turn, you roll a d6. If you roll a 6, you get it back. You gain dark vision to a radius of 60 feet, or an additional 60 feet of dark vision if you already have that, which is useful, super useful. And once per day, you can gain blind sight out to a range of 30 feet for 5 minutes. You also speak and understand Draconic, the language, and you have advantage on any charisma check you make against black dragons, or whatever the dragon color is. You also get access to legendary resistance once per day. So if you fail a saving throw once per day, you can choose to just succeed instead. And the Black Dragon Mask gives you the ability to breathe underwater. So it's just awesome. All of these masks are great. If you happen to find all 5, you can put them together to make the Mask of the Dragon Queen, which will basically give you most of these abilities all at once. You'll get 3 legendary or 5 legendary resistances. It's bananas. But again, it wasn't impossible to gain access to a Black Dragon Mask. Usually you can't get them till the end of the campaign. This one gives them to you if you get through Horde of the Dragon Queen and do certain things. You can get it at the end of that. And I think through Adventure League play, you used to be able to gain access to the Green Dragon Mask, but they changed that with more recent updates, so now you can't get any of the masks. Number 1. And lastly, for number 1, who doesn't want to be Iron Man in Dungeons & Dragons? Well, this is about as close as you're ever going to get. And that is the Powered Armor. This attunement magic item was found in that adventure I told you guys about in one of the other videos, Lost Laboratory of Qualish. Well, let's talk about this. Powered Armor resembles a suit of unusual plate armor with finely articulated joints constructed by an oily black leather-like material. The armor has been worked to create the appearance of a heavily muscled warrior, and its great helm is unusual that it has no openings, only a broad piece of glass plate in the front with a second piece of glass above it. Strange plates, tubings, and large metal bosses adorn the armor in seemingly random fashion. On the back of the armor's left gauntlet is a rectangular metal box from which projects a short rod tipped with a cone-shaped red crystal. While wearing it, you get the following benefits. +1 to AC, so we're at a 19 AC for our plate mail. Your strength score becomes 18, has no effect if you already have a higher strength score, and you have advantage on death saving throws. The armor has further capabilities that can be powered either by energy cells, or by your own life energy. You can use a bonus action to draw power from an energy cell or sacrifice hit points to gain one of the following benefits. Emit a force field that gives you 2d6 plus 5 temporary hit points for 1 charge or 5 hit points. Activate boosters to give you a flying speed of 15 feet for 1 minute, 1 charge or 5 hit points. Fire arm-mounted laser cannon. Range weapon attack plus 8 to hit, range of 120 feet, deals 2d6 radiant damage for 1 charge or 5 hit points. Translate any writing you can see in any non-magical language to a total of 1,000 words over 1 minute, 1 charge or 5 hit points. Fill the armor with air, allowing you to breathe normally in any environment for up to 1 hour, 1 charge or 5 hit points, or gain dark vision to a range of 60 feet for up to 1 hour, 1 charge or 5 hit points. The armor can accept only 1 energy cell at a time. It is found with 1 energy cell attached containing 2d10 charges. There's more. Depending on how and where it appears in your adventure, you might wish to modify the features of Koalish's legendary powered armor. Automatic defenses. Unless Koalish deactivates the suit's automatic defenses, no one can approach the armor without setting off its defenses. It acts as a shield guardian that is a stored magic missile spell that using a 4th level spell slot. When reduced to 0 hit points, its defenses are rendered inert and it can be safely approached. Battle of Wills. When done by a new user, the armor deems itself superior and attempts to take possession of the user. The user must make a DC 13 charisma saving throw or be possessed by the armor. While possessed, they're incapacitated and lose control of their body, but maintains their awareness. It uses the possessed creature's stats as adjusted by the armor, but does not gain access to the user's knowledge, features, or proficiencies. Freeing a creature trapped inside the armor first requires defeating the armor's automatic defenses. The trapped creature can also attempt a DC 20 charisma saving throw each day at dawn. On a successful save, the armor no longer controls them and can be safely donned. Stasis. Whenever a creature wearing the armor drops to 0 hit points, the armor places the creature in a state of stasis. Well, in this state, they are stable and do not make death saving throws, but the armor takes control of the creature as above in the Battle of Wills. Additionally, the armor attempts to assume the identity of the user, assuring their allies that nothing is amiss. Freeing the user first requires defeating the armor's automatic defenses, again, as above. A creature in stasis does not make charisma saving throws to break the armor's control. And then alternative power. Powered armor originally required energy cells to fuel it, but was adapted by Koalish to be fueled by life energy of the creatures wearing it. You might decide that the armor can also draw power from additional sources, or that energy cells can be recharged with the aid of a tinker, inventor, or artificer. It might also be possible for allies to connect to the armor through the use of magic that generates a conduit, something like an astral silver cord. While so connected, a willing ally can give up hit points as a reaction to fuel the armor's abilities. Again, that was a lot, but basically it's a badass suit of armor that it's Iron Man armor. It's about as close as you're gonna get to Iron Man armor. And I really wanted to continue. I started playing this adventure and I made it about halfway through. And unfortunately, nobody in the party could use plate mail, so it never would have gotten use. But it's just so badass. And I want to put it in a campaign because it's amazing. Also, one of the downsides of plate mail is you need to have a strength of 15 to be able to wear it and use it normally. This gives you a strength of 18. So it lets you basically, as long as you can wear plate armor, you're going to get the ability to use it right out the gate. It also makes me definitely want to redo with the new Artificer rules and this armor, my Iron Man build that I did many months ago as part of my It Builds character series. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. That was my top 10 legendary magic items. This one may be a little long just because legendary items have so much stuff to talk about. But I did want to, again, say Happy New Year to everybody. Again, separate video will be coming out later today discussing the plans for Nerd Immersion going into 2020. But I did want to thank all of you, again, just for your suggestions. I had said at the end of the Blood Hunter video that I was looking for suggestions. I think I have over 30 suggestions for top 10 videos from all of you. And that's awesome because that gives me a ton of content to go through. And they're like varying degrees of different things, not all tied just to magic items, which is nice because some of them give me the opportunity to be more philosophical and talk more about my opinions about things. So Thank you. Again, also feel free to continue to leave suggestions for future top 10 videos in the comments. I will add them to my ongoing list that I have from all of you. If you like this video and you want to see more or suggest future topics and that kind of thing, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you can see when new videos come out. I do these top 10 videos every Tuesday, and for the past 20-ish weeks, I've been on point about actually making them come out on Tuesday with no issues, so that's pretty cool. It's a nice kind of thing I get to look forward to each week. I mean, also top 10s do great on the YouTube algorithm, so there goes that. But yeah, I just, again, wanted to thank everybody so much for that. I do have a giveaway going on right now to win a lot of cool stuff. There'll be a link in the description to the giveaway. You can win a copy of Eberron Rising from the Last War. You can win a whole bunch of cool products from Jetpack 7. You can win a one-of-a-kind piece of Elderwood Academy Nerd Immersion branded gear for hitting 10,000 subs here on YouTube, but we're almost approaching 12,000 now, which is pretty cool. And I do stream on Twitch. Twitch is funky. Stay tuned for that video later today while I'll be talking about what the actual plan for streaming on Twitch is in 2020, because it's been all over the place. Just due to timing and holidays and family and all that good stuff. So thank you again for watching. I don't know what next Tuesday's video will be, but stay tuned because it will be there next Tuesday. So we'll see. Hopefully I can build out a schedule and let you guys know what to look forward to in advance. And again, Happy New Year.